Rob?
Hello everyone, welcome to Rob's Rogues in the Batman Universe.net, and today we're taking a look at a really cool figure. This is the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Batman figure, the 6-inch Mafex figure. And I don't have the box in front of me because I had made a trade from one of the DC collectors on Facebook, and I'm going to give a shout out to Anthony Bruciano, if I'm saying that wrong, I really apologize, Anthony. He had posted that he had bought the Mafex Batman, and due to him buying and pre-ordering the Hot Toys Batman, I think he was just more thinking like, well, I'm going to have this really good figure, and didn't fall in love with this as much as he thought he was going to after having seen the Hot Toys. So I think he was saying, rather than have a whole lot of different Batman, I don't know what that's about, he just would rather have had the Hot Toys figure. So I really do like this one. This is the first Mafex figure that I have in my collection. I have also pre-ordered the Nightmare Batman from this line. I can see why some people may have some issues with Mafex. It has some great, crazy amount of articulation, probably the best in some of 6-inch action figures that we've received from Mattel, DC Collectibles, Hasbro, you know, whatever the toy line is. But this is something that I've said in many of my reviews. Once you start doing so much articulation, you're asking for more things to potentially go wrong, or maybe even suffer some of the articulation, maybe breaking up the sculpt. Now, Mafex does a really good job of maintaining the sculpt while adding in a lot of articulation, and I really, really do like this. So let me get this right out of the way, right up front, where somebody says, well, it doesn't sound like Rob likes this figure. Oh yes, I very much like this figure. There's just a few things where I could see that there may be some potential problems, and I just kind of want to point those things out, and I've got all my accessories right here from Anthony, so thank you very much, sir. I really do like this figure. The only problem that I've had, and I'm kind of seeing that happen with some other people, it is so cool to have the different hands to be able to do different things with, and just have, you know, the closed fist and maybe a hand to hold the grenade launcher, which I'll swap some of them out, and I'll probably even do one on film here. But an issue I've had is the peg has kind of come apart. I should say it's not easy to put back in, but without too much fuss, you can get it put back in. So that's one of the gripes that I've had, that the first like 2 minutes that I had the figures, I was swapping out hands, the inner peg came out. It was like half of part of the peg, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. Hopefully that doesn't happen on film, although part of me wants to have it happen on film so I could say, here, this is the exact thing I was talking about. So we'll get into that in just a second. Let's just take a look at the figure. Compared to the Mattel face sculpt and the figure as a whole, obviously night and day. You can definitely tell that, yes, that is Ben Affleck under there. Is it 100% representation? No. Is it a darn close one? Yes, you could tell, like, hey, that looks like it's Ben Affleck. The neck looks a little fat right here. It's not too bad. I think the camera's kind of making it look that way. I had him kind of hunched down, but he was so beefy in this movie. He was just bulked up so well. The suit detail is just fantastic. The bat looks great. I mean, all this texture. I mean, you can feel all this texture on here. The attention to detail. This is one of those things that I don't like right here, is being able to see the joint in there. That kind of suspension of disbelief, almost the reverse of. I'm always feeling like it's not pegged in right there. We'll get onto that in just a second. The belt looks great. The boots. I had him bent right there. Even as you can kind of see, the joint on his knee is textured, so you don't get this weird, like, just like you would in the Mattel, it would just be the normal plastic without the texturing. So they really do try and hide the joint the best they can while still making it look as realistic as they can too. Just a great, great looking figure. And the cape is articulated. It has a wire inside of it, so you can get it to bend and pose. I've been trying to get it the look where it's folded over the upper part of his cowl there. So you can kind of do it. It is maybe a tad bit long, that it doesn't want to stay. It wants to bunch up and kind of ride, so you kind of have to fold it in just a little bit. You can get it to make it lay just a little bit more natural, but the back, you know, you'll have to kind of bend the wire into itself a little bit to get it to kind of roll in, and then I usually end up tipping the back out a little bit, but trying to keep this tucked in. But a little bit of play, you can get it to work. I was really kind of messing with the wire, but just really cool that they have the cape like that. Now, some people don't necessarily like the feel of the cape. It feels like, and I'm using Automatica's reference here, so at the time that I'm filming this, she has not filmed her review, so if I'm stealing a little bit of your thunder, Automatica, I apologize. But she has said that, and I do kind of agree with her, this feels like an umbrella. Like somebody bought an umbrella, and that material that you would have on a normal standard umbrella, that's kind of what it feels like. Now, just looking at it in person, it doesn't look that bad. The umbrella material kind of sounds and feels cheap, kind of hear it there, but it doesn't look cheap in the same aspect. Now, with having the wire and the cape, it does hinder you from being able to get it to lay a little bit more natural. And with, like I said, with just a little bit of TLC, you can get it to lay a little bit better. So there you can kind of see that I can get the cape to lay a little bit more flush right there. And once you start moving, it starts pulling back up, but just having it hug the floor just a little bit more, it'll lay. Like I said, it'll take a little bit of time, but you can get it to do that. But aside from that, I mean, being able to have the cape, it's posable, to be able to stand him on your shelf and have like a dynamic pose and have the cape fluttering in the wind will be pretty cool. I'm looking off to the side. The other accessory that he comes with is like the flight stand, which I think this just needs tightened up a little bit more. I think when Anthony sent it to me, it was probably a little loose in, so we could get it in the package and get it shipped to me okay. So with the screwdriver, I'll be able to tighten this up, because I had, for my Falcon review, if you saw that one, depending on when I upload this, I had the Falcon in the air, and even having Batman jumping, trying to get it where it's like this, the weight of the figure is wanting to pull this down, so you have to kind of displace the arm a little bit, so being able to get it straight up and down with a figure up to the top, it does want to start tipping it over. But again, I think that's just due to the screws not being tightened really tight, so that'll be, I would think it'd be an easy fix, but that's cool that we have that. So let's get into the articulation, which is crazy, crazy good on this figure. The head does look left to right, and which I'm going to show this, the head does come off very easy. And what's going to be cool about the head coming off, I have pre-ordered the Nightmare Batman, and that Batman comes with an unmasked Ben Affleck Bruce Wayne head that I could put right on top of this figure. So I could have an unmasked version of Batman, and maybe on a table that I would have there, I could set the, you know, cowl backwards and having, you know, Batman look at the mask or whatever, even though it does come with the cowl, but the cowl is kind of scrunched up as if Superman has a hold of it. So that'll be really cool to be able to do that with that head swap, which would be really pretty cool. So I'm going to probably do this off camera so I can get it a little closer. Trying not to break the peg and the neck here. There we go. I was making it a little too hard. It's kind of hard to reach around the camera and do that. So the head does look left to right. It's trying to do without moving everything else. Up and down. And then the neck has articulation too, which is crazy. I've never had a figure that has neck articulation. So he can look all kinds of sad, Batman. Or look up at the air like, Superman, I hate you. So, really cool. The one downer to this figure is the arms don't go up to a full 90 degree, even if you rotate them out. This is the one part of the sculpt where you can kind of see the inner workings where, you know, the joints on the ball and socket are not sculpted. Now, you can get the arms to go a little bit more of a 90 degree just by rotating a couple of the appendages there. So it's not totally natural, but that is the one downside, that's as far up as the arm goes. It does go all the way around, and it's got the butterfly joint here in the back for the shoulder, so you can get the arm to roll around a little bit more. It has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, which is fantastic. A swivel hinge pivot at the wrist, all kinds. See there? All right, it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. I just dropped the hand, so I'm going to have to pause it really quick, but as you can see, the peg came off. Now there's the hole that will get recessed back in as soon as I find the hand. Found the hand on my dark carpet, so let's just get this zoomed in. So you can see where that pegs in right there. So that is, I don't know if that's just part so it doesn't break off. So here is the peg. This teeny tiny little peg. This is what scares the crap out of me. Getting this back in here. Okay, so it does pop back in fairly easy. Don't lose it. So now that we got the hand off, I am not, just for the sake of this review, I am not going to put, and the sake of my figure, I'm not going to put every single hand on this guy to do this peg over and over again. This is the part of the figure that feels so brittle, like I'm afraid I'm just going to snap it. So there I've got a closed hand, or not a closed hand, a hand that I could put another weapon in, just so we can kind of do that. So I don't think I'm going to have him really with the fists on at the moment. There is a fist here, a hand. Get Batman to lay down. So I said you could do it in a motion with the Batarang focus looking like this. So he's kind of throwing it that way. Or you have this hand. Get him in the camera. This is probably more of the hand that I would have the Batarang in as he's throwing it there. So one hand, this is like him throwing it back and bringing it forward, and then this one would probably be the release of this. So you go kind of like from, this is really dumb, Rob, this way into that way. So I like you have this different options to be able to do this with. So as you can see, I've got the hand here for the grapnel blaster. And I could swap this out and make it a little farther out here. Swap that out for the grenade launcher. So I'm really having to hold where the joint goes. And then you can do a move like... Now, I don't know how many of your 6-inch action figures you could get them to pose where they're looking down the barrel of a gun. Now, saying Batman looking down the barrel of a gun, I get that's loose, and maybe in Batman vs. Superman's case, that's not too far from the truth. But that Mafex can do this, so other figures maybe like Deadshot or Harley or the Joker that will have guns, especially somebody like Deadshot, to be able to do this type of a move is really, really pretty cool. And I even have it lined up so he's looking up in the air so I can get his head looking up in the direction that he is shooting. That is cool. I don't care who you are. that I've got a 6-inch action figure that can do this, and that I've got his cape kind of billowed out here. Just so very cool that this can even be done in 6-inch scale. And I've got legs turned, so I haven't totally gotten down to the other part of the articulation since the hand popped off. So I'll just kind of show you what I've got here, and I'll do the articulation. You know, there's a swivel here up at the thigh. So we got the thigh and the leg bent, the boot turned, and I've got this toe tipped up just a little bit. Just a real natural pose. So very cool. So the rest of the articulation, so I said that right, since the wrist popped off here, again, be careful with the wrist, there is a waist swivel, ab crunch, upper diaphragm swivel here, so you can get him in some very cool poses. So no actual waist swivel here, it's more of the upper diaphragm. The legs are on a crazy jointed system here. It's more of a ball and socket that you can see here. The legs have the ability to kind of pivot both left and right, and can go up into the crotch cavity, I guess, as it were. So hopefully I had that on frame so you could see that. So you can get different... at first, when I saw the picture from Anthony, the figure looked like this. I'm like, oh my gosh, he broke the figure. No wonder he doesn't want it. He had it fully extended from the crotch region. Sorry about saying crotch region there. So there it looks more natural, but depending on if you were having his leg up on something or one leg coming out doing a kick, you can do different poses there. So it's got a rotation at the ball and socket. The ball and socket pivots up and down and rotates back and forth in there, and that might be just from the rotation in the leg. But wow, so cool. So that it can kind of extend and retract a little bit is nice. Double jointed knees, and again, like I talked about before, so I had them off frame, that the joints kind of get hidden in there, so you can have a little more of a natural pose. That's just so cool. The ankle hinge and rocker swivel, all of that's really cool. And then the toe articulation in the boot. But that is just amazing. I love this figure. Love this figure. Now, Rob, haven't you bought, and it's getting him standing here, Rob, haven't you bought your fair share of Mattel figures, Batman? Yes, I have. Had you bought this Batman first, would you have bought the Mattel figure? I probably would have bought the one, maybe two. I would have bought the Nightmare Batman because I'm collecting Nightmare Batman. Getting the Grapnel Blaster Collect and Connect, I thought was a really cool piece, so yes, I would have bought that. Having the darker bodysuit from the Suicide Squad movie, I think I still would have bought the Batman figures that I have because I still like the Mattel line. I'm going to bring up the Mattel Batman, and we're talking night and day in comparison. Yes, night and day. I like that he's a little bit beefier here, and it may be a little too much now looking at it. I do like the way the cowl and the cape is kind of sculpted over, so you're losing a little bit of that, and there is some play that you've got to do with the cape to make it work properly, but once you get it where you like it, it just looks really good. And again, to be able to get this Batman in a Batmobile or something like that is going to be easy. You don't have to worry about people going, well, I cut the cape off this Batman and put on a cloth cape. And we've got a cloth cape, a fabric cape on this Batman, which is really going to be nice. I don't know if there's a Mafex Batmobile being made, but if there is a 6-inch scale, there is one for this guy. This Batman would work. That Batmobile is a little toy-ish, if you will. But again, night and day differences in what Mafex is doing in sculpting and what Mattel is doing in sculpting. You can kind of see, I mean, there's no comparison. Now, that being said, there's a price point difference on these two Batman. This you're looking at $19. This one you're looking at 45 to 60, 65 depending on where you order it. I did a trade to get this guy, but I think the average price could be anywhere from 45, like I said, to $60, again, depending on where you're ordering
maybe
it.
somebody that's on a budget and goes, I really want to get this Batman, but, you know, Rick Flag isn't going to bother me, you know, too much with him, you know, standing here. And, yeah, I know they're two different lines, but maybe I'll not spend the money on this guy to have Rick Flag standing next to Batman, because I don't think we're going to get a Rick Flag from Mafex. And they work. Batman is a little short in some aspects, maybe over this guy is maybe just a touch taller, but it's not too much that you couldn't work in the Mafex Batman with your other figures. Final thoughts on this Batman as he's kicking Movie Master's Ra's al Ghul out of the way. Very cool. I am so glad to have this in my collection, and I'm starting to get close to you know, working my way through maybe like the least popular Batman figures up until, you know, the Play Arts Kai, getting into Mafex. The next stop is the Hot Toys. So today we've been taking a look at the Batman vs. Superman Mafex figure. This is, of course, Batman, Batfleck himself, and again, a fantastic figure. I can't recommend picking this up enough. If you want to go out on a limb and spend the, you know, $45-50 on this figure, I think you're going to be very surprised by it. Again, just watch the wrists. That peg is kind of prone to coming out, but as you can see, it happened to me 2 or 3 times on the review, and I was able to get it back in fairly easy. And I would just recommend, while you're changing guns or batarangs or whatever out, that you kind of hold on to the wrist and forearm so you can slide the weapon in and out a lot easier. And as always, this is Rob for Rob's Rogues and the BatmanUniverse.net signing off, saying we will see you guys next time.